Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another round of the Sunday Championship here at Evolution Racing Academy. My name is Stephen Koenig, and welcome to round 3 at the beautiful Mount Panorama. And right off the back of the 12 hours of Mount Panorama this past weekend, well, we're going to throw some of our own GT3s into the mix in the ERA Championship. Keep an eye out, though. Drivers have been warned and been told to behave, but, well, we know how racing goes. Once the red mist kicks in, the visors go down, we go racing, and the first corner that they're going to have to contend with is Hell's Corner before they charge down to get to Quarry Bed. They will then cycle their way up the mountain through the Cutting and the Solomon Park, through the McPhilly Park, into Skyline, the dreaded Skyline that has claimed so many cars this past weekend. And through Skyline, you eventually work your way down the dipper to the Forest Elbow. And I've got to say, Forest Elbow, not my favorite corner to ever deal with, but many of the drivers are quite happy going up and down through the mountain. And qualifying will be underway. So let's head down to Tim and also Jim. So Jim is going to be our flag marshal today. Tim will be on the cameras. And there is our beautiful shot of the GT3s as they start making their way out onto the track for their qualifying. They're going to be trying to get as much heat into those tires as possible and looking forward to having a bit of fun. So a couple of things we do need to touch on, though. This is round 3, which means they're getting closer to the end of the championship. This is a 7-round championship, so bear that in mind for the drivers looking to push their way through. It's also where the drop rounds are going to really matter, and we saw it last season with how the drop rounds came into play. So taking a look at our diamonds, which is our whiteboard drivers, we got Christoph Peterson leading out the field with 20 points. 2 points behind him is Ernest Lumbriggs, followed by Darius in third. Christian Goff in fourth, followed by Ryan Gell, David Schuton, Sean Skitter, Jens Nelson has done a fantastic job locking in 8th at the moment, but tied in points currently with Michael Castro. So 8th and 9th is tied in points, so is 5th and 6th. So they are also 5th and 6th sitting on 14 points, 8th and 9th on 10 points. That's something to keep well aware for our Diamond Championship. Moving on to our Platinums, we have got Ben Hicks that is leading out the field, and that is our silver borders that you see on screen with Flows Cup running in second place with 18 points, tied with Chris Wall on 18. 2 points behind them is Tomo Malami, who's looking to really go. Melmi, I do apologize, Melmi, going and doing a fantastic job. Locking in fourth place, 16 points. 1 point behind him, though, is Martin Spritzer. Keep an eye on him. Does quite enjoy the track and is looking to be proving quite a formidable foe. Looking at our golds, we've got Nicholas Cora leading out on 20 points, 4 points ahead of Sebastian Lucasen, who is in second place. Liam Smith going and tying up with Sebastian on 16 points. He's lying in third place at the moment. Both not scoring any points at the Nürburgring. Lewis Knight is running in fifth place. Didn't get a score at Zolder, but scored 14 points at the Nürburgring in the wet. And Finn Holland, currently on 12 points, is tied up with Federico Calgero, and David Young and Freddie Morelli in the 8th and 9th are sitting on the same points of 10 points they have to deal with. Keep an eye on them. It's going to be a difficult one for a lot of our drivers as they will be pushing the boundaries of what they can do. And a big welcome to you all on the virtual grandstands. Glad to have you guys here. We're in for an absolute treat of note. So, lap times that we're going to be looking at, roughly about 201s, 202s is going to be our front end of the field. We will look at 203s roughly for the mid end of our field. Average racing is about 205s at full tilt, and fuel is at max, so keep it well in mind. Pit stops is going to be critical of when you're going to get into the pits, get yourself sorted, and continue racing. So, Michael Castro comes across the line. He's going to be going and starting his lap, and Flo Scup trying to make up some time as well. Everyone looking to really push as hard as they can to go and score some early banger times to walk away with a position at current. It's very easy to get an off track here at the beautiful track of Bathurst. And so far, Tomo, no problem. 202.6 gets beaten out by Glenn Smith, who comes back at him at a rate of knots to ensure that he can keep in for the fight. So drivers are most certainly not holding back on this one. They are trying everything they can. Fastest lap time coming in for Ben Hicks with a 201.482. Sean Skitter with a 201.6 on the run. Glenn Smith currently running in third. Nicholas Cora is running in fourth as more and more times are starting to trickle in for our top runners. Christoph Peterson putting in a 2-minute dead on his outing, so he's not holding back at this point. He knows he's in for a fight, and it's going to be a bit of a rough time. He's going to utilize the tow from his teammates up ahead of him. Ben Hicks in second place, making his way through the cutting, going to be on a proper chase at this point in the BMW M4, trying to relive some of the success of the Van der Linde brothers this past weekend, and hopefully not like some of the BMs that landed up pretty broken, and the Mercs as well. Sean Skitter charging up through Skyline, and now has to make his way down the hill. It's down the gears, fourth to third, as you make your way to the spoon, down into second, carry the momentum through, back up into third, as you charge down to the Forest Elbow, hard on the brakes, bring the gearing down, into second, into first, back up to second on the acceleration, and keep on going. Great stuff coming out from our drivers. Darius also having a great run now. Interesting enough, getting a little bit unsettled in the Nissan GTR, going and saying that the car feels like an absolute monster up and down the hill. Quite happy with the car the way it is, but has forewarned that the tires are going to be taking an absolute beating on this car, especially on the right-hand front, where they're not going to be too happy. So he's going to have to keep a keen eye on that and to ensure it doesn't have too much of an issue. David Schutten running in fifth place. So Ben Hicks currently leading out the Platinums and second in class. Nicholas Cora doing a phenomenal job. Was in third for a little bit, but now into fourth. Beautiful lap time of a 201.6. So far, Peterson's time not kicked off the timing tree as yet, but I can tell you that most of the field are all sitting in 201s right up until ninth place. Chris Wall holding a 201.9. After him, Michael Castro, 202, as the 202s run down till Scott Reynolds in 21st position. So drivers are really going on it, but Flow Cup unable to get a time on the board just as yet. Damian Moroni, Stephen Milano, James, Ryan Gell, Federico Calgero, Jens Nelson, Flo Scub, Andre Serradio, Ernest Lundbriggs, and David Young, all still battling to get a valid time on the board at current. So drivers are needing to get these times in. It is all about track position on this circuit because you want to be the first up that hill, ensuring you're dictating the pace. Drivers aren't going to have an easy attack at you. You can go and start taking it easy. You don't want to be caught into a concertina effect into turn 1 and turn 2. Turn 2 especially kills your drive up the mountain, and you're going to have to then wait it out. And that's pretty much like twiddling your thumbs the whole way through. So many of these drivers just want to try and get these times in, get themselves into a good position, and pull their way through. Second place, a little bit of a tough time. So Darius, who is currently running in second, is going to have to really get the run into Hell's Corner to try and keep ahead of Christoph Peterson. Both running turbocharged cars. Both are really going to enjoy the weather at current, where it's sitting at a beautiful 19 degrees. So turbochargers are going to have a fantastic time here with the cooler conditions. But it also means that these tires are going to be frozen on the start. Everyone's going to have to be very cautious on their approach to ensure they don't run into any issues nonetheless. Sebastian Lixen currently running in sixth position as he exits the Forest Elbow. We did see one of the Project Vapor cars going and chasing down, and that is Andre Serradio, I would believe. No, it's not Serradio. That must be Mahath Musa. That's in his old colors. Yes, it's Mahath Musa currently in chase. He's currently lying in 15th position. Mahath Musa was fighting out previous season with Christoph Peterson up into that top 2. Came down to the final round that separated them. Unfortunately, wasn't able to get it all the way to the end and lost out the championship by just a fraction of a margin. This season, though, hasn't been the best run for Musa. I do know that the previous race, they landed up with a connection issue that took him out of the race, takes him out of the points, and they will be forced to use it as a drop round. Not ideal situations there. Want to try and improve it. Ben Hicks doing a phenomenal job as a platinum driver. Very happy with it. Currently lying in 4th place. Sebastian looks in running in 6th. So he is the first of the golds with Nicholas Cora down in 8th at the moment. And Scott Reynolds running in 7th is 2nd of the platinums. Chris Wall is 3rd of the platinums in the top 10. As we go further down, 3rd of our golds is lying in 14th place. So incredible work with some of our drivers. But 5 minutes to go to put it on the board. And how many people are going to be really going and giving themselves a tough time here? Ernest Lundbrix, though, utilizing all the curbing possible. Going right down, sliding that Lambo, fighting at the wheel. Just trying to saw away at it to ensure he can stay in for the fight. So a tough time for our drivers as they make their way through. A little bit of game audio coming through, and we can hear these engines roar bright and loud as they go down the Conrad Straight, absolutely keeping it pinned, going close to 270 kilometers an hour before they slam on the anchors and bring it right down to the end at the Conrad Straight. Definitely a difficult corner nonetheless, so you can see really gets to the 150 meter board, starts to think about it, gets on the anchors, slows the car down into 2nd gear, brings it up to 3rd, and powers his way through into the final corner, hard on the brakes, cautious of not knocking any of those braking marker boards on the right hand side. All drivers have been warned, do not go and deliberately take out those boards, otherwise you will be putting a £10 note lying into the kitty. So not an ideal situation for getting it wrong. David Schutten had a phenomenal outing on his previous round. Now is looking to take a lot of that momentum into this race. Round 3, where it gets a little bit more interesting. He's had a phenomenal run. Got to keep it all together, though. Didn't have the best of runs originally at Zolder, but it was just trucking along little by little by little. He has been improving this Mustang, and it's been a really formidable foe for a lot of drivers to go and deal with. So he's lying 6th in the championship, 14 points, tying up with Ryan Gell, who at this current moment is lying in 28th position, so way down the field. Ryan's going to really have to get the getty up and go if he wants to go and still hold for that top position against the likes of our police. Not easy to do. A couple of yellow flags getting flagged down to his drivers, collecting the wall, like Simon Kussat going out and knocking the wall, and now having to just get that car back to the pits. And that is the problem with the Bathurst. As you go that little bit further, you get caught out down the Conrad Straight or even up in the mountain, like what we've got on Andres Rodio, into the spoon. Not quite an easy place to be. Lying in 7th position. Scott Reynolds going to go down. Would have got the warning for the yellow flags. Take it a little bit easy down the hill. And that might have just compromised his drive. It looks like he has lost out a bit. Michael Castro, though, at the moment, 0.2 up on his previous best as he climbs up the hill and really standing out on the gas, trying to make it all work for him. Flo Scub going and making his way up the hill. And now towards Skyline, 0.2 up on his personal best, having a good time out there, gets a little bit close to the wall, gets a little bit of a slight lift, and you can see a bit of confidence braking needed to just try and keep this Honda in check. Well, the Kari NSX, for those that are going and watching, depending on where you are in the world, between the Honda and the Acura. Jude Neville following down the hill in the Mercedes, 0.4 up on his personal best, trying to make it all work for him. Not going to be an easy time out there as he tries to get that little bit of a climb. 0.4, now going to stand on the gas. Christoph Peterson, though, going and having a phenomenal run up the hill. Beautifully done. And let's go quickly on board with him and take a lap around this beautiful circuit as we jump in the passenger seat through the top of Skyline. You can see just keeping the car as close as he can to the curbs, to the walls, charging down into 2nd gear, hard braking, fighting at that wheel, seesawing it. He's currently matching his personal best. Is it going to be enough, though? Into the Forest Elbow. He is neck and neck with his personal best. He gets a tank slapper and a little catch against the wall. Doesn't look to be too bad, but unfortunately has dropped him down out of his personal best. Can he make up the time? Down the Conrod straight he goes, up into 6th gear, really hauling as quick as he can. Gonna be 0.1 up. Once again, this might work out for him. Hard on the brakes, down to 3rd, down to 2nd, slings it in. Really wide though, getting a bit unstable on the exits, but is now matching his times. If he can just figure out that 0.1, he'll get it into a sub 2 minute. Gonna try it, 0.1. This may be a sub 2 minute, and nope, he gets a 2 minute 0.052. Absolutely incredible stuff, but just not quite the time he wanted to have. Ben Hicks pulls into the pits and will be running the end of his qualifying run. Darius still going out on track. Michael Castro to try and push himself a little bit further. Maeth Musa coming around, currently 0.1 up on his personal best. May help him out here to get into that sub 2 minutes, the high sub 2 minutes, to bring him up through the field. Might take a little bit more work there. Comes across the line, gets into 11th, just out of that top 10, getting beaten out by his teammate Andre Sorodio. Michael Castro coming down the hill, and now through the spoon, charging down to the Forest Elbow. 0.4 up on his personal best. This is going to be a proper quick time for him to get into that top 5 and go and usurp Darius right at the last. Can he keep it pinned though? 0.7, he is really finding a little bit more pace out of the car and doing a phenomenal job at it. Is it going to be enough though? He needs to try and hold this at the end of the Conrod Straight and into the final corners. Currently 0.7. Darius, unfortunately, not able to improve, as we do see Michael Castro a little bit of traction loss as he gets on the power a little bit early there. Low TC being utilized to just get that rotation of the car through the final corner. 0.5, this may be it. 0.4, comes across the line, puts himself into 2nd place, going and taking out Ben Hicks and putting him on the 2nd row. Chris Wall currently pointing the right direction and is going and moving up 0.1 of a second. He may actually be able to get himself past Skirt Reynolds at this point to go and get himself into the fight. It's going to be hard on the brakes, get it all tucked in nice and neatly. 0.2, carrying a lot of momentum here. Chris Wall has had some luck and some terrible luck at the same time, but this might be a proper flyer for him. 0.4, 0.3, and it comes across the line, puts himself into 9th place and is ready for the race into that top 10. That is beautifully done. So drivers will be getting themselves geared up here at Mount Panorama for an absolutely fantastic race. So let's go through the course a little bit. Hell's Corner, hard braking zone. We're going to see a huge concertina effect there, and Quarry Bend as well. Those are the 2 points that is going to be like just tiptoeing around one another. Through the cutting, take it nice and easy before you get hard onto the anchors into the left hairpin. Makes it rather tricky, but we will see cars opening up that gap a little bit more, trying to give themselves some space as they make their way through Sullivan Park and McFleming Park before hitting Skyline as they charge their way through. Then it's all about just dealing with the car lightened up on the nose, starting to pull its way around, and you've got to just believe you keep it going as you try and move your way through the field and hope that the rear doesn't step out underneath you, because you just got that traction loss. Most of the GT3s actually getting a little bit of height there. If you're running your car quite low, you can go and jump the car up and lose that traction on the front, and it'll all put the weight onto the rears and get them sliding. So the Porsches are always a concern there. So is the Mercedes, believe it or not. The Mercedes, very front heavy, but not a lot of weight in the tail compared to the likes of the BMW. It does have a bit of oversteer that will kick in and take them around. So quite a few of the Mercedes drivers have done very well, but will have to be well aware of how far can they push their luck in this race. It's going to be a long one though. 1 hour of pure side-by-side racing here at the Mount Panorama. That's going to test our drivers a little bit to really get themselves going and ensuring they stay in for the fight of note. Try not get tired after an hour of the circuit. You will be lucky. Taking a look at our grid lined up, and a fantastic amount of cars. Great turnout for our server 1. 36 cars lined up on the line, ready to go. It's going to be a wild, wild ride. But as like every race here in ERA, we love to teach and we love to challenge. We're going to start implementing our lovely success penalties that kick in. Now, what is a success penalty? You may wonder. Well, see those 5 seconds and the 15 seconds that have just popped up on your timing board. 15 seconds is for our winners of the previous race. They get a 15-second penalty that they will need to serve in their pit stop. So take your pit stop and add 15 seconds to it. That's what you're going to have to deal with. You get 10 seconds for second place, 5 seconds for third, and there is also the penalties from the previous race, time penalties, that will be added to them as well. So there's always a bit of a challenge that you got to keep well in mind. For Peterson, 15 seconds, while we see Michael Castro lining up in second place. Well, Los Pantos Hermanos is currently ready to go on the right-hand side with no success penalties that they have to deal with. Darius came second in the previous one, so he's going to really fight it out 10 seconds, and then Schutten will be getting that 5-second penalty. Looking, Chris Wall gets 15 seconds on his time, and you'll see Flo Scub getting 10 seconds, and Tomo Melmi going and landing with 5 seconds on his time. Looking at our golds, 15 seconds for Nicholas Cora for getting the win. Lewis Knight getting 5 seconds for his third place on the previous run. So drivers are going to have to be well aware of it, think out the box of what they're going to do and how they're going to push themselves up through the field without getting caught out too badly. And that's going to always become a very, very challenging time. And for Peterson, when we take a look on board with his car, you can just stare down to Hell's Corner and he can see the entire horde of GT3 cars going to come at him at a rate of knots. They're going to ensure they can be in a proper challenging fight with him. Now, many might be asking, why was turn 1 called Hell's Corner? Well, let's pass a little bit of information to you all and get a bit of an idea of what happened. So, Hell's Corner came out because there used to be a big tree. I mean, this is a tree that's going about 100 years old. It was one of those huge type of oak trees that used to sit at the bottom of that corner. Motorbikes used to go flying through there. Cars used to go flying through there. They would hit that tree. The tree would never go down. It would cause severe damage and also land up hurting a few bikers as well over the course of many, many years. Lands up with a bit of a problem, and they eventually cut the tree down. But that was after it scored its name of Hell's Corner as you charge towards this humongous tree that used to be there. Forest Elbow found out as well. Bit of a fun one there. A gentleman was racing motorbikes. His surname was Forrest. He crashed at the bottom of the mountain. He actually went and broke his elbow in practice. Came back for the race without telling any of the medical personnel that, hey, I've landed up going and hurting myself. Got back on his bike and raced the race to ensure he can keep the championship. So that is dedication that we get to have from our racing fans. But also, we're going to see a lot of dedication needed from our sim racers as well. So let's take a look at our grid as we go through the running order for the ERA Sunday Championship right here at Bound Panorama. Christoph Peterson will be leading out the pack with Michael Castro in second place. Ben Hicks running in third. Ernest Limburg's in fourth place. David Chudon running in fifth. Darius running in sixth place, looking to charge his way up through the order. Sebastian Luxon running in seventh. Eighth place, Jude Neville with Chris Wall in ninth. And 10th is the likes of Jens Nelson, who's hoping to really make an impact here and really looking to push himself up through the order. As we carry on out of our top 10, Andres Serradio leading out the South Africans in 11th position. Tomo Malmi running in 12th. Mahath Musa in 13th place. Trying to catch up to Andres Serradio. Will be on the back of him to challenge his teammate and fellow countryman. Lewis Knight will be lining up in 14th place as the UK versus the likes of our American Scott Reynolds in the Freedom V8. Will be running in 15th. Nicholas Cora chasing him down, followed by Sean Skitter. Ryan Gell in 18th. Freddie Morelli in 19th. 20 as Martin Spritzer. Glenn Smith in 21st, followed by Flo Scub. Simon Kussat. Keep an eye on him. Very quick driver. Can be very consistent, but it seems like the car just needs to work with those rears on him. Nico Lawrence will be chasing him down, though, to ensure he stays in for a fight. Hanso Foss in 25th, followed by Nicholas Porras and Christian Fingler going and backing up his teammates, all from the back. So great stuff from him. Federico Calgero in 28th position. Neil Greening will make up some time in 29th, followed by David Roth to put the pressure on him. Paul Fenzer will be running in 31st position after having a bit of, well, trip down memory lane a little bit earlier today with his racing. David Young in 32nd. 33rd is Patrick Bowles. Liam Smith running in 34th. 35th is Finn Holland. And Stephen Polona James rounding out the pack to ensure he has a great run. So lots of pressure going to be happening as the drivers make their way down the Conrod Straight. It's going to be a tough time out there for everyone to make that monstrous impact against one another. And this is where you start building up that bit of friction on the tires. That weaving left to right starts to just try and get some heat into the carcass of the tires, get the tires ready as well. So a couple of methods that are used to warm up the tires. You stand on the anchors, just leave them, hold the brake a little bit, ride it. It will generate heat into the brakes, into the brake pads, into the disc, and then you'll land it into the rim, later into the carcass of the tire. Brings everything up, brings your pressures up, because these pressures on these tires are going to be very, very low at current with a 19 degree at current. So it's 19 degrees track temperature, low tire pressures. You want to bring it up. You also want to get your brakes ready for that hard braking zone into Hell's Corner. So that's going to make things a little bit more tricky as our drivers exit the Conrod Straight and now making their way to the final corner. This is where Jim will be on the line, telling them slow it down, make sure that you line up at 70 kilometers an hour, no more, no less. Otherwise, you will land up in a major, major problem of a penalty to be added to a drive-through, to be exact, as they make their way through. Christoph Peterson leads out the pack for round 3 of Server 1 and is in the Platinums with Michael Castro for the first time lining up on the front row this season. Ready to go, lights on, lights on, lights on, as we wait that little bit longer. Come on, lights off, and away we go. Ernest Lundberg's off to a great start, but got stuck behind the likes of Ben Hicks, who immediately closed the door on him. Peterson goes and keeps himself at bay. We do see Mahath Musa very slow, big accidents in behind the scene. Mahath Musa got caught out, and that does look like that might be Flo Scub that also got caught. Christian Fingler was a little bit caught out there. David Young as well, but Nicholas Porras took most of it as he has to try and keep his way going. So a couple of cars through Hell's Corner did not have an easy one. Now it's charging their way up through the hill. Ben Hicks, huge train on the back of him with David Schutten right on the tail. Now has the outside. Ernest Lundberg's going to try and give a hand as they make their way up the mountain. Darius, who's just keeping an eye on this behind, wants to keep close enough, but it is going to be a hard time. Lundberg's not backing down from the fight, hunting down that inside, getting very close to the curbing, and does not want to get caught out in Skyline. Darius is going to try and keep it at bay as well as they fight their way down the hill, hard on the brakes, just knocking it down through the gears. Into Spoon they go, and it is going to be Sebastian Luxon who started getting a little bit of a run up to the likes of Jude Neville ahead of him. Had a good time there, but not going to work out in his favor at this current point. So let's go and take a look and see what was the accident as we got a little bit back This is the number 6 car of Lewis Knight, who was involved in a little bit of turmoil. We'll go to the helicam just to get a bit of an understanding. So had a bit of a slow start there and trying to make his way through. Oh, a bit of rear contact. Scott Reynolds was the cause of it. Into Mahath Musa, comes back onto track, and then it started a pinball effect. Oh, Darius going and losing that little bit of time. And now Jude Neville's going to have a good look at the inside. Tries to go a little bit later on the brakes, and we see Sebastian trying to defend Chris Wall with a huge lunge on the inside, going to try and get that pass done. Side by side he goes with Sebastian, and you can see Jens Nelson wants to be part of this mix, just trying to see where he can go. And Chris Wall moving up a position. Oh, we do get from the Lamborghinis. That's Jens Nelson, who went a little bit offshore there. Got caught out. Andres Herodias going to say thank you, and Tolmo goes up on the inside, looked to make it 3 wide, trying to go and replicate what happened at the 12 hour. Couldn't quite do it. Lost out that little bit of drive. Sean Skitter, side by side he goes with Ryan Gell, who's been on a proper march through. He goes out a little bit wide though. Mahath Musa clawing his way back, gets past Ryan and continues on his drive. So great running there. Ernest Lundbrig's a little bit of a catch on the wall on the charge up, but all looks to be reasonably okay from our field. Couple of cars a little bit unwell, but they are still going to put the charge as they march their way through the field. Chris Wall trying to keep ahead, Sebastian keeping the pressure on him, but our leaders long since checked out of this fight, as Peterson and Castro are making up a bit of time of pulling away from the field, roughly about a second at this current time, but we're going to have a lot of hard work as the tires will start to reach off at drop-off points, and let's see who has been protecting those tires just that little bit longer. Andres Herodio very close onto the back of Sebastian, trying to get the drive out of the forest elbow into the toe. Now you want to just pull yourself along right through the kink. So he's going to try and get closer and closer and closer. Keep within that inside, or keep within that toe, and try Spirit for the inside line. That's going to be his best bet here. So Herodio trying his luck as we jump on board. Looks to the inside, second guessed it though. Wasn't too confident on the brakes, was a little bit too far. Bit of dust getting kicked up from our front runners of Chris Wall, actually going in, catching that little bit of dirt and losing out a bit of momentum. So a couple of drivers feeling the pressure. Freddie going out and landing up with a bit of a problem. Hanso Foss is going to dive up on the inside with the big Bentley, the only Bentley there is in the field, and he is going to absolutely keep it going. Freddie trying to still defend that position. Side by side they go. Nico Lawrence is just keeping a close eye, and Christian will be just letting him know, no pressure from behind. We're going to try and keep it in tow here. Goes on a little bit of a defense run to hold back David Young, but still side by side, the two front engine cars of two different eras, the Mercedes and the Bentley, side by side they go, hard on the brakes, and it is the Bentley that gets it right before Freddie, as he just braked a fraction longer. Now Freddie has to really battle it out, as we do have a bit of yellow flags. That is Skirt Reynolds. Skirt Reynolds has turned round and now is facing down. This is a completely blind corner. He needs to wait for the entire field. He's got just one more car, and that's going to be the 440 of Simon Kusset to come and get round. You can try and rotate this car. There is Simon, so now he can do it. And Nicholas Cora also landing up with a bit of a problem, as our cameraman, getting a fit. Oh no, that's Ryan Gell. That's Ryan Gell that's been involved in that impact. That's at the top of Skyline. What on earth has happened to the number 10 and the number 90? So we're going to try and quickly go to a replay, if possible. There we go. This is the climb of Nicholas Cora. And did he lose it? Because Ryan Gell's not there with him as yet. So he lost it through Skyline. Bang against the wall. Trying to bring it back. Lost the rear end. Simon already lost it. Going into the dirt. Nowhere to go. And unfortunately there was a car in the runoff and got that front end impact. Both taking a monster hit. And unfortunately both needing to be towed back to pits. Michael Casher into the pits. So he's going to get that car sorted out. Try and get his first pit stop out the way. Chris Wall feeling the pressure from Sebastian on the back of him. But he's trying to keep a little bit of pressure on his fellow teammate of the logistical nightmare racing, likes of Jude Neville, who is just keeping an eye on the matters. Ernest Lundbriggs getting caught up behind one of his championship rivals, needs to try and sling it past as David's starting to open up that little bit of a gap. So Darius is just keeping that Lamborghini at bay and helping out the likes of Peterson, who is starting to run away even further, 4.9 seconds away from Ben Hicks. And Schutten, who's running in third, starting to open up that gap just a fraction more, 0.7 of a second. This may get up to roughly a second and a half through the mountain as he has to play a little bit more of a defense game here. As we do see Jude Neville, Chris Wall, and Sebastian keeping that pressure on the whole way through. Sebastian a little bit more cautious than the cars ahead of him, just to carry a little bit less momentum through Skyline, not as confident to lean on those rears too much, and on the right hand front especially, rather go and just tiptoe through and try and keep those tires alive a little bit longer. Mon Spritzer with Hanso Voss all over the back of him. Freddie Morelli trying to get that little bit more pace and closing up the gap, lying in 19th position. Another good fight. David Young and the likes of Stephen Milano James both having a good run through the mountain, but for Stephen, he needs to get past David to rejoin his teammates up ahead and ensure he can stay in for the fight. Unfortunately, 2 retirements have happened thus far, and one of them I think is Ryan Gell, who got caught up in that head-on collision at the top of the mountain. Yes, it is. Unfortunately, not ideal circumstances there, but hopefully maybe they can get that car out and get going again. I hope. I really hope they can pull it all together, get that car going. Stephen Milano James gets ahead of David Young, under braking. David's going to try and have a go at him. Patrick Bell's now going and closing up, and Patrick with that Red Bull is not afraid to put his nose in where the fight is, gets a little bit more close into it. Ben Hicks now into the pits as well. So we're starting to see those very early pit stops in the majorly early stages of this race. It's, I mean, not even 10 minutes as yet, and cars are diving into the pits, getting themselves sorted. Darius fighting it out, currently in third place, and David Schutten just ahead of him is currently in second. He's got 5 seconds to serve though, while Darius has got 10 seconds. So long as David stays ahead of Darius, he will have a huge advantage here. Ernest Lundbriggs though just needs to keep within the tow, keep close as much as possible to ensure you stay in for the fight. And when both cars pit, he's got 0, and I mean 0 success penalties to serve as well. So that's going to help him out. Jude Neville, though, huge impact coming down the mountain. Lewis Knight as well getting a bit of an impact. So let's try and see what happened here. Let's go to the 29. And that was Flo Scup that also landed up with a bit of a problem. Oh, just lost the rear. Caught it. And lost it again. Nope, he sees... Oh, no, that is one of the Nissans going and losing out that little bit of time. So Flo just going and avoiding it and keeping himself together. But unfortunately, Jude Neville, one of the drivers of the 727 car, landed up with a monster impact. Let's try and see where exactly it all went wrong. It's David Roth. Never mind, that's not Jude Reynolds. Jude Neville, sorry, he's in the 297. This is the Porsche that got it wrong. There's Gel in the wall after that big impact. Oh, and he also got turned around on the way through, so never a good point there. Mon Spitzer side by side with Hanso Voss going and making up a little bit of time there, all working well. 727, and this was a little bit earlier going up the hill, so he also had another problem. David Roth has just been in the wars climbing through the hills and not having an easy... Oh, there we go. Here's the problem. Mercedes going all over the show and losing that rear. He had to take a bit of evasive maneuvering to just get himself sorted. So a couple of cars not happy climbing through the mountain. Freddie keeping the pressure on the back of Mon Spritzer at the moment. He's doing everything he can to just try and lay on the pressure. Lewis Knight, who had a little bit of a turnaround at the top of the hill, lying in 17th position, and is just trying to get himself back, as we do see that was Steven collecting the side of the wall, a little bit slow on the climb up the hill. That's going to keep him very vulnerable to David Young as we've got another accident. That's Chris Wall and Jens Nelson who are in the wall. Sebastian clipped him and Andre Sorodio, but Jens Nelson and Chris Wall stuck at the top of the hill, completely trying to get themselves going, and it reversed. The entire field going through. Eventually, Nelson's just driving it into the wall to just try and get the car to turn around, and he's just waiting. That's going to take a lot of people off the apex, and unfortunately, a lot of very, very hurt cars there. Not a happy camper, and Chris Wall will be trying to get that car to get back to the pits and stay in for the fight. So let's take a look at what happened to Chris Wall. I think he was the first impact before Nelson joined in the party. And this is down under braking. Oh, monster impact, nose lifting in the air, turned round, and thankfully, oh no, Andre Sorodio slowing down quite a bit, not wanting to get caught out there, and landed up, getting turned, well, yeah, a little bit of a bump from Nelson. Oh, no steering, and this is going to go straight. This is going to go ugly. He needs to slow this car down. Thank heavens the kitty litter is there, and he's able to get the car slowed down, but Wall is just dragging this car back to the pits, doing everything he can, and unfortunately, not going to be a too quick of a pit stop there. Can serve his time, though. Not ideal circumstances to have it happen. Nico Lawrence going side by side with Stephen Milano James and the two teammates. Not arguing too much there. I think there was a friendly reminder. Don't go and fight each other up the hill. Liam Smith having a good run for the 2ID team, having a fantastic run in the BMW, going and closing off on Paul Fenter, who's got a little bit of damage to that nose, trying to pull himself back. This is from early in the race. He landed up with that impact, so he's got little downforce on the nose. He's going to also have terrible straight line, but Paul Fenter trying to make up some ground to Liam Smith, and hopefully just remembering what he needs to do. Oh no! Glenn Smith into the wall, and will be having the field come through, and Liam will just see fellow 2ID calling yellow as he's stuck in the wall, and that was pretty much not a needed task for him. And teammates are all having a radio to one another just to say, listen, let's just keep going here, as Liam Smith onto the back of Federico Calgero, who was quite slow, just taking a bit of caution, and now has compromised himself down the Conrad Straight. Is it going to be enough? Federico doing everything he can. Middle of the circuit, turned across the nose, trying to close the gap. He's off, the wheels are bouncing. It is the end of that sign. It's completely dead. That is the end of Kenny. Kenny died. That's quite unfortunate. Kenny landed up in pieces. Another South Park coming to it. Nicolas Porras getting past Federico Calgero, who had that rear jump up underneath him, and I'm sure got a heck of a fright. Nicolas Porras going to be quite happy with that. Neil Greening was quite advantageous just to keep on by, but Liam Smith and the likes of Paul Fenter did not give a toss on that run. They kept their foot firmly planted and wanted to keep going, and I think for Liam Smith, after having the car turn across his nose, he was not going to back out of that fight. He was going to keep it going no matter the cost. Darius up in second place ahead of David Schutten, now in third, and Lumbriggs onto the back of him. The three are fighting it out for second, third, and fourth at currently Peterson 10.6 seconds up the road from this little train as they fight their way through it all. And Morani getting overtaken by Mahath Musa up through Skyline as well. That is 8th and 9th, as we do see quite a few cars still close to one another. But where is it going to come in where they start lapping the cars? Because that is going to be a critical point for the likes of Peterson. Now we're going to keep an eye on this because Peterson is currently into the final corner and is keeping a very, very close eye on himself on the fight. He's going to be catching up to the number 29, which the 29th position. That's going to be up ahead of him, and that is likes of Jens Nelson. That it's Ben Hicks that's ahead of him, and that is a 2ID McLaren. That would be Glenn Smith that has just dropped down. So Glenn Smith will be the first one to be overtaken, and then followed by likes of Ben Hicks. But that means the pressure's going to come on as our train starts to make up that little bit of time as well, as Darius will have to make short work of the competition before the likes of David Schutten and Ernest Lundbriggs come back at him at a rate of knots, ensuring that they stay in for the fight no matter what. Each of them having their taste of glory over the past 2 races heading into this, and some great moments but also some low moments for the drivers, and each of them looking to really bank in those serious points that may or may not be the break that they need at the end of the championship. We've seen it before, 1 point separation heading into the final round, and it's all about pushing the limits of what you can do. And these 3 are properly nailing it around the track. Schutten and Ernest Lundbriggs having a phenomenal fight with each other down through the spoon into the forest elbow, and that's allowed Darius just to open that gap a fraction more, and will stay in for the fights as we take a look at the likes of Ernest Lundbriggs and just off the rear wing of David Schutten at the moment. You can see starting to open up that gap. Now there's 2 ways you can go and set your car up here at Bathurst. You can either get low aero to get maximize the acceleration top end for the Conrad straight, can make a huge impact, or go in high aero that will keep it more balanced up through the mountain. Because it's continuously flat out through there, you've got to have enough pressure on the nose and on the rear of the car, especially when it gets a little bit lighter as you cut through Skyline. It does jump you up quite a bit. Lewis Knight having a good go with Mons Spritzer, but the 440 is currently parked up in the wall. That is not ideal. That's Simon Cussatt, and Chris Wall taking a little bit of a catch on the rear. But Simon Cussatt got it wrong. He's able to get the car going once again, but not gonna be the happiest camper there is. So let's take a look on board with him. Dives down Skyline through the mountain. David Roth just ahead of him. Hooks a right-hander in through spoon. Oh, and just turned around. Unfortunately, that change of elevation and camber comes into effect. He reverses the car, try and get it turned round, and that's when he had the run with Chris Wall a little bit ahead. David Young now in for the fight as Nico Lawrence is in for it, and this is where we're starting to see a little bit of a scrappy battle coming in. Nico Lawrence leading the pack with David Young and Patrick right onto the back of him. Christian Fengler past Skirt Reynolds, who's one of our back markers at this point, and will just continue the drive. David Young trying to get a little bit of a pass by just putting pressure on that rear. Do a little bit of bump draft, doesn't hurt anyone as Patrick loses it into the mountain and lands up with Finn van Holland caught up in that fight. Paul Venter goes and escapes, but Finn van Holland with that little bit of contact, and unfortunately for Patrick, that rear just stepped out under braking and loses out a lot of time, a lot of positions, and will be battling. He's got to still wait for a couple of more cars to come through as Hanso Voss landing up into the wall, heading down into the dipper, and is now facing a completely blind corner. And when we say completely blind, no joke, this is his view. Other than relatives, spotters, and marshals, he is trying to turn this behemoth around and just slamming the nose into it. Oh, and eventually just towing back to pits. Not able to get that car going in a safe manner. Rather, instead of impeding it through the mountain, rather keep himself alive, sort of. As a stop-go 30-second penalty for Tomo, unfortunately coming in for speeding in pit lane, or getting off the button a little bit too early. And, well, seems like we've had a bit of a disconnect, reconnect. Apologies for the technical stutter. It's the very first that comes in like that, but thankfully we're still here. And we're still going and broadcasting here in the beautiful Mount Panorama that has just recently hosted the next running of their 12-hour this past weekend, where it was a BMW that took the win for the top. I don't think it's going to be a BMW this time. I think it's going to be a Honda NSX of Christoph Peterson to ensure that he stays at the top of the field, and will be fighting it out as Ernest Lundberg's trying to catch up to David Schutzer. Lewis Knight and Stephen Milano-James keeping it close to one another. Stephen a little bit of a poor exit coming up the hill, and that has cost him a bit of time. Lewis Knight going and now capitalizing and moving his way back up through the field. So he's got to try and get that momentum back and going as quick as possible to stay in for the fight. Ernest Lundberg's now very, very close to David Schutzer, down the main back straight, down the Conrad straight, through the kink, absolutely pinned, hard on the brakes, and David doing a fantastic job, middle of the circuit, stopped it dead on the apex, killed the drive of Ernest, and he tries to bring it back. Unfortunately, no space there. Lundbergs has to keep it very, very tight against the back of David as quick as possible to try and get the run into Hell's Corner. May have an advantage here, trying to get that slipstream. David moving straight to the inside. He's going to keep it high defense and in through the corner. Can he stop it on the apex? Goes out a little bit wide. That's compromised the drive. Side by side, the two go as they make their way down the main straight. It is going to be a huge fight into the mountain. Can they get it right? Will the Lamborghini have the drive? He's got the advantage to swing across, but it just takes David to go and brake a little bit later. Nope, not this time. Wasn't that confident. Try to bring it back, but they're still going to. Side by side through the cutting. It's going to be close, though. And David, once again, backing out of it, trying instead to just wait it out as we get these beautiful aerial shots of our race. And I've got to say, this is incredible stuff. Ernest Lundberg's really going and fighting it out to keep the car going. And you can constantly, David, keeping that pressure on. Beautifully done as they fight their way up to the top of the hill through Skyline. Now it's going to be battling their way down. Quick dab of the brakes. Another dab, and continuous hold for David Schutzer, trying to keep it all together. The Lamborghini bottoming out. Schutzer's going to have to be well aware of it as our camera's trying to get the shot into the forest elbow. And it's going to be a bit of a carry here. And unfortunately, Schutzer had a very poor drive and is going to have to try and chase down the likes of Sebastian once again. So as we jump on board, you can see Darius just a little bit ahead. But how the gap is starting to get bigger and bigger over this Mustang into sixth gear. He really brings the revs right up into the rev limiter, then changes gears. Instead of going that fraction a bit earlier, takes as much as he can to just get that bit of momentum, hoping that that power band of the brute force V8 can carry him up that little bit more. Andre Sorodio onto the back of Sebastian as they carry their momentum through. Going to be hard on the brakes to try and pull it back. Not able to do a late brake there, so going to have to wait it out. And David Schutzer tried closing that gap as quick as he can to the likes of Ernest Lundberg. Going and catching, closing and closing a little bit more. Maeth Musa into the pits. Michael Castro is actually leading out those that have pitted and done it all at the moment. David Schutzer right onto the back of Ernest Lundberg as they start the climb up the mountain. Can get the drive here. Can he go and sink it on the inside line as they make their way through the cutting into a hard braking hairpin? Now it's about getting the drive flat on the throttle, the rear stepping out a little bit as they're staying firmly on the throttle pedal. It is going to be a huge run for the likes of Ernest Lundberg to ensure he keeps it going. Close to the wall they go as they really gun it out for both cars. Really not backing down. David Schutzer keeping the pressure as Lundberg tries to keep a little bit more of a defensive line. He was a bit unsteady coming down the hill. A little bit dirty there to try and get the line right. David Schutzer just coming off the gas a little bit more, not having the front end grip needed to try and get ahead of that Lamborghini, and will have to once again be patient as Lundberg starts to open up the gap just a fraction more at this point. So leading out our diamonds is Christoph Peterson, followed by Darius and Ernest Lundberg in third place. For our platinums, we have got the likes of Flo Scub yet to pit though, leading out the pack with Mon Spritzer in second place and Christian Fingler running in third for our platinums. And our golds, big one there is Sebastian running in the top 5 of our golds, having a good run. He's got Freddie Morelli going and landing up in second place and Lewis Knight. But we have got yellow flags. That is Paul Fenter, who bit it into the wall. And you either win it or you bin it. And for cheesy and whining, unfortunately, that is a car properly taken into it. So let's try and see what happened to the 420 on the way through. So let's go through the skyline, all looking okay. Oh, clip the dirt into the wall and down the road he goes, trying to keep it all together, and unfortunately puts it square in the wall again. Couldn't quite slow the Honda down just enough and lands up, having to get that repair work done with him. Not ideal for the LNR team. He was trying to do a great recovery after a rough start to his race. And unfortunately, it has ended up with him down the order and having a big moment. Ernest Lundberg's keeping the pressure up. Schutten trying to carry the momentum. He just needs to get that little bit of momentum. He needs to get brave. Needs to go for that send on Ernest Lundberg's to go for that third place. He needs it desperately at this point because he has to put 5 seconds on the likes of Lundberg's. The only way he's going to do that is keeping him behind, get him bottled up behind the likes of back markers, and keep an eye on the pace. As Darius utilizing a little bit of the toe coming from the 2ID of Mr. Smith, going and having a great time. As Mr. Smith moving out of the way, and Mr. Smith sitting in the pits, going and cheering on. Christian Fingler leading out those that have gone through. Well, Mahath Musa would actually be the one leading out, as he is yet to. He's done his pit stops. Christian Fingler and Nicholas Porras, who's actually just come out of the pits, who may have a good run there. Ernest Lundberg's into the pits. David Schutten into the pits. So this is a react moment for the likes of David Schutten, as he saw that there was a pit stop coming in for Ernest Lundberg's and tried going and doing a little bit of a cut with it. Oh, unfortunately, landing up, getting caught out. White flag being waved. And that's something I do want to actually bring up for those that don't know about the world of sim racing. You always think yellow flags, accident. Okay, we all know that one. Green flag, go. Checker flag, it's over. Blue flag, you're in a race, but you're not. You're in a race, but you're not in their race. And black flag means you've done goofed. So those are the flags. But the white flag has a bit of a meaning to it. Depending on where you are in the world and what type of racing you got, take for our GT3 racing here, white flag comes out on corners only as slow car moving. So it's only on the corners that you'll see that white flag come out. You won't see it come out on the start finish line for a slow car. You'll see it come out for the final lap. And that is definitely one you want to keep an eye out for, because when you get onto that final lap, you know you just got to gun it. But to know the flags, that is always a handy part for anyone that's looking forward into motorsport. Get to know your flags, get to know what's happening. And it's one thing that even the drivers here in sim racing got told. The yellow flag has the meaning of there's an incident ahead, be prepared to stop. That is the rule of law of the yellow flag. Be prepared to stop. You are not to overtake in the yellow flag zone in sim racing. You can at least do that without getting penalized. But you actually need to come off the power a little bit, not at race pace, just to be prepared for a stopped car or an incident that may impede the entire circuit. So that is why the yellow flags do get pulled out. It's why it's handy to always call for when you listen to your spotters, and always look at the marshal post when those flags come out. It gives you a good indication, much like the blue flags that come out. A lot of people tend to look at the blue flags and go, you need to jump out of my way. Formula One has that you got 3 corners to relinquish that spot and allow the leaders to get by. In GT3 racing and multi-class racing, when the blue flag comes out, you are to hold your racing line, be predictable, and not defend the position. So you can't defend, but you don't have to move off the racing line. It is up to the car behind you that's lapping to get past you safely. And that is what many of these drivers are utilizing to get going. So they've got to go and lift off the gas a little bit, get themselves tucked up behind you, and get on the power and get past you without landing up in a big incident. So something to keep well in mind while you're driving, and also to keep in the back of your head, especially in the world of sim racing. That's what we do replicate. I love it when the marshals come into it. And for those, go to your local circuits. Go and have a chat to the marshals, all the COCs, the stewards, the timekeepers, any of them. There's definitely always spots available for the youth and for an older generation to go and help out. Without the marshals, without COCs, stewards and such, racing doesn't happen. And much like our stewards here, racing at ERA and going and looking at the stewards, it's always fantastic. If you are interested in the rules and upholding the rules, go and join up with the stewards. Or, even better, go and just listen into a conversation. It's always fantastic to hear the reasoning for the rule books and why it's there. And if you're getting that penalty, that's pretty much the only way I can describe it is you get hits on the willy with a wet shoelace when you go and take out a car, or you land up in a bit of trouble. You need to go and be well aware of why that happened. Right, now that we've gone on a huge tangent in the wrong direction, let's take a look at what's happened on track. Well, just happened on track. Andre Serradio turned around and there's a bit of a problem here. Can't quite reverse, so he's going to try and turn the nose round. Oh, no, he's got a little bit more of an issue to just try and get it pointing straight middle of the circuit. You gotta go. Oh, Patrick going skating the wall. Just trying to do it. Another car getting caught. That's Michael Castro and Stephen Malone James picking the wall as the best buy there. And unfortunately, getting caught out. Beautiful run for Andre Serradio, though. Hasn't lost out too much time. He's down into 14th, but it's going to be carrying a bit of damage to that nose of his car. So he's going to have to keep that well in mind. Let's quickly go to take a quick look. This is how of a nightmare. Completely blind right-hander. He can't see round it. And there is his teammate, Maeth Musa, coming by. Serradio now middle of the circuit. And for all the cars, they can't really get it tight enough on the inside to get it going, because this is where you start understeering out generally with the tires. And landed up skating that wall. They won't have too much damage. They'll be slightly nicked, but nothing too serious. Leading out our cars that have pitted, though. Let's see how the strategy goes, because this is going to be interesting. Ernest Lumbricks leads out the pack of those that have pitted. And Sebastian Luxon, who's running a little bit further down, is leading out our golds and doing a phenomenal job there. He's done all his pit stops, but has got the pressure of the likes of David Young that would be trying to catch up and make a bit of headway here. So keep a well in mind of how this race is going to go for him. Andre Serradio chasing onto the back of Stephen Malone James as they climb up the hill. So definitely not too slow at this point. Damage not going and hurting him too badly, but he's going to keep it well in mind. The tires take a lap to come back to the right pressure to get rid of that overheating and get going once again. Peterson still needs to get into the pits. Darius, Sean Skitter, Flo Scub, and Martin Spritzer yet to get in the pits. Our top 5 at the moment. And remember, Peterson's got 15 seconds. Darius has got 10. Sean Skitter, 0. And Flo Scub, who has now moved up into 4th place. Oh, Serradio down the hill. Huge impact. That rear jumping up, reminiscent of the Merc this weekend, going and getting launched in the air. And well done, Serradio, going and turning the car around and gets going. Come on, keep it going. You got to take a nice gentle drive, waiting for the track to just clear up a little bit and rejoining. So he has got that damage. It has definitely affected the car, but he's still going. I give it that. He is still going, and that's what I love to see. Drivers getting back in that car, getting going once again. Don't sacrifice those key positions just as yet. Don't throw in the towel. You don't know what's going to happen. And well, the mountain has been brutal. 28 cars remain, ladies and gentlemen. We started with 36. And that tells you how much this track can take out of you. Once again, one thing we go and teach here at ERA, and one thing I think I preach to the umpteenth degree: always get going. climb back in that car and just go for that checkered flag. Whether you win it, bin it, win, lose or draw, just see that checkered flag. Knowing that you started and you ended that race is a critical part of racing. The throw in the towel approach doesn't get you anywhere. Sean Skitter very quick into the pits though, as he's trying to get himself going and battling out. It's going to be a huge run there. And we've got a bit of news from CJW Racing. Had to retire. The Mercedes is literally undrivable down the mountain. Oh man, that is absolutely gutting to hear, and not what we like to hear, and especially if it's your favorite circuit, as it is for a lot of drivers. Find this track very technical, but a lot of fun. It's a roller coaster. It is a gutting moment, and my heart goes out to you. Well, the commentary box is open. It'll be wonderful to have a chat to you, get your experience thus far, get a little bit of insight of what these drivers may be feeling, because a couple of drivers like Ernest Lundbriggs pitted in later, but Matthias Musa was quite early on his pit stops, trying to get it done. Sean Skitter is into the pits, so it's only Christoph Peterson, Darius and Flo Scup that are needing to get themselves on the way and keep going. And it's going to be a difficult one nonetheless. Henrik saying heads up for all the drivers out there, and heads up for the racing as well, because this is getting into a wild situation. It's good to see our virtual grandstands still alive and well after tons and tons of racing, as we get to see it all. Peterson now into the pits. Darius will be following suit, I would think, to serve his 10 seconds, as this will be a react to the likes of Peterson. Gets it going, got to keep on the power though, travel it all the way through, then you get onto the pit limiter right at the end, as we do see Peterson rolling into his box. He's going to have 5 seconds more than the likes of Darius. Has he done enough though to keep ahead? Flo Scup, on the other hand, leading out the Platinums, doing a phenomenal job, has got 10 seconds, and that is going to be keeping him well in line to keep an eye out for Martin Spritzer, who's down the order a little bit and is keeping a very quick pace at the moment. So Martin Spritzer is trying everything he can to do the right up to the top. So we have got one of our drivers whose favorite track it is, unfortunately, one of our retirees, as we see Flo Scup coming into the pits. We're going to have Chris Wall to come and have a chat to us and give us a bit of an idea of what happened out there. Chris, not ideal situation, just a rough start to the middle, became difficult. What happened? Take us through it.
Start was really good. Climbed from whatever I started, like 10th or 11th, up to P5. Really nicely tucked in behind the likes of Lindberghs and stuff, and going really well. And the Mercedes, throughout the entire week of practice, over the top of the mountain, has just been unpredictable. So I've been experimenting with different lines, different techniques, and no matter what I did, the car just randomly will snap going over the mountain. So I came into this almost expected it. I kind of hoped it wouldn't happen, but one lap took the exact same line that I had always done, and the car just snapped, went down the hill sideways, and I got tons of damage. So I carried on, and then it happened again. And it was too much. So I thought I'd come and join the comms booth, because you've got a good view from here. So I thought I'd come and keep you company for the remaining 20 minutes of this race.
No, it's absolutely an honor to have you. It would be nicer to see you out on track, but let's talk about Flo getting a drive-through penalty in 8th position, and now dropping a little bit too fast off the button of that pit limiter, and a drive-through after serving his pit stop in the final 20 minutes is not an easy task to try and climb. And when he thought he was going to get ahead and be the top of the Platinums, this is not what you want to see.
He'll come out ahead of Spitzer though, or he should, looking at the gaps. Will he? No, he's still there.
Spitzer's in 10th. Spitzer's in 10th. Flo is sitting in 14th after his very late pit stop. Took a bit of a gamble there, got close to the wall, and he has got Finn Holland on the back of him, really pushing as hard as he can to try and make up a bit of time here. And Flynn is not backing down from this fight, and he's bringing David Young into it as well. So Flo is just having a huge, rude awakening. Even Christian Fengler getting into the fight, as Fengler knows he has an opportunity here to put it on the podium.
Yeah, so there's a bit of a group here that are chasing class podiums. So you've got Van Holland and Young that are chasing down Lewis, who is one of the kings of the mountain, and Nico, a couple of seconds up the road. So that's for P3 in gold. And then you've got the platinum battle here as well. So Spitzer's sort of a few seconds up the road, not out of reach of Flo, and not out of reach of Fengler as well. They just need a really clean last 20 minutes and hope that the tyres that are on Spitzer's Lamborghini do begin to fall off. A lot of the drivers were talking about going long in this race. I'm quite interested to see that hasn't transpired in the race. So a lot of drivers have actually come in before sort of the 45-minute mark and got their pit stop done, which a lot of us were expecting some of the top runners to go long, extending clear air, because the risk you've got here is if you get stuck behind slower traffic on the mountain, it will cost you a ton of time.
Well, I can tell you that a good portion of the bottom end of the field, even that they weren't involved in the accident at the start of the race, landed up pulling into the pits in the first 9 minutes of the race. Myeth Musa was actually one of those cars. He did do a little bit of repair work, but it has thrown him further up the field into 6th position. So early
that was the
pit
counter
stops.
strategy. Yeah, so again, it's just he wanted cleaner. So if he didn't qualify particularly well, he'd have come in early, got some clear air, and then he's been lapping in clear air, not scrubbing his tyres to death, and now he's reaping the rewards of it.
Well, he's on the back of David Schutten, who's got a Mustang that looks a little bit second-hand at the moment. The police vehicle looking like it needs a bit of repair work, and it's got itself into a fist fight. Unfortunately, whatever it was fighting, won. That pony needs to make sure it keeps going. Tried going a little bit defensive, but unfortunately, straight line, not going to work out here. And also cornering becoming very, very hard. Myeth Musa's taken the position, but David Schutten tried everything he could to close up that gap as quick as possible. Unfortunately, now we're going to see this pretty little pony going to be retired to the glue factory after the race. So
yeah, the BMW is a bit of a king around here. It's really stable. You can really extract the speed out of it in Sector 2. The Mustang should be really good in a straight line, but if that Mustang's been in the wars, then it'll have its top speed affected. So, yeah, David will be suffering right now in that thing.
Yeah, no, he's definitely eating. We actually have a quick replay of what happened to the 178, and this was how the final corner possibly got the impact. So hard braking. Goes into the final corner, overshot it, and bang into the wall, missed his braking marker, and that was it. All by his lonesome, not even on the mountain, but unfortunately, when you miss it by that good 5 meters, and how difficult is the final corner at current with any of these cars, when you're just going and going and going, and with the likes of fatigue kicking in, is it an easy mistake for it to happen? Is it just looking too far ahead? What can cause you just to miss out that braking marker?
Well, I mean, there's two that I use. I use a 100 board, then the grid lines. I use the second grid line on the floor. If neither of them are viewable, then you can use the pit entry line as well. So there's no real reason for missing that entry point, other than perhaps he's maybe nursing a little bit of damage. Maybe he got distracted in the car. It happens. It's, we saw it in the real Bathurst 12 hours. There was a Mercedes that literally went straight on down there, so it happens even to the best of us. I don't know. I can't give you a reason. It's not any more difficult than any other corner on the track. It's one of the easier ones, in fairness.
Well, unfortunately, he's got a bit of a problem, Patrick, going and allowing the cars to go through as well. He stopped out coming down the mountain. David Young pulling away from Christian Fengler, and this has allowed Ben Hicks to get back into the fight. Ben being one of the front row starters in the Platinum class, now having a good run behind Christian Fengler, and this tow is going to help him out hugely down the Conrad Straight. And this is a part of the course that you've just got to try and keep it close to your competitor as much as possible. From your experience in the multitude of cars that you've driven, Chris, as we see Christian late on the brakes, gets it just ahead of David Young, and David Young actually getting swallowed in by Ben Hicks onto the back of him. Is it better to have low aero heading into this race, or would it be high aero, as we do see Ben Hicks just gets right past without too much of an issue, as David Young allows him to go by. So I would think he's actually tapped off to allow the Platinums to get ahead and not to interfere with his race, because he's in the gold division. But what would you take, high aero, or would you have rather a low aero for the Conrod Straight?
I do quite like a a high aero setup. You don't lose tons, and of course, if you can get yourself in the slipstream, you just negate that problem anyway. Even with maximum wing on my Mercedes, I was overtaking other cars down the back of the Conrod Straight, so it's worth it for the top of the mountain stability. The risks with a low aero setup are just that the rear end just doesn't behave in the critical sort of slower speed corners around the top.
Glenn Smith into the wall. Yeah, no, that Glenn caught it into the wall. I think the rear stepping out on that McLaren, while he had Andre Sorodio on the back of him, the 777. Let's quickly take a look from up top. So gets the pass over Sorodio into the corner. No, he didn't get the pass done. And the rear just slipped out underneath him, unfortunately. McLaren doing what it does best. Corner exit. It loses that rear. Patrick into the pits. And that is the 101 car, who is now getting some repair work done. Let's take an aerial view through Skyline. This is coming down the mountain again. Tapping the brakes, trying to keep it all together. Into Spoon. Oh, just lost the rear through Spoon. We've been seeing quite a bit of that, unfortunately.
Yeah, he was chasing that from the start. His line was a little bit off coming down Skyline, and then he just was over speed for the remaining two corners. That will have just unsteadied the car. Kind of always going to happen. Ben Hicks, right, doing a bit of his best lawnmower impression as he chases down Fengler. I'm a few seconds behind because I'm watching your stream, by the way. So if I'm talking about things that have happened a while ago, you know what?
No problem. I actually can't show you my screen in here, unfortunately. I apparently don't have the admin rights to the TV on the wall to show you the channel, unfortunately. But let's see what we can do in current. It might be an advantage to see if we can have somewhere that possibly has that ability.
We can get you that permission, I should imagine. That's not a problem. So Fengler's got about 10 minutes to hold off from the BMW here to maintain his second step on the podium.
It's going to be a hard time, though. It's not going to be an easy one, because the Lamborghini is starting to look a little bit unsteady on the climb. And looking at Fengler's last lap time, he's gone off a pace a little bit at 202.5. He's been running roughly 202.1, 202.3s. So he has tapped off the gas a little bit just to try and keep the car going. Maybe a bit of survival work on the tires there. Ben Hicks pushing a lot harder down the hill this time around to close up that 1.3 second gap to really keep the power on, and will be chasing the run through. 26 cars left on circuit with 36 starters nonetheless into this. I mean, that's always a really rough one to just have the grid dropping out, but it does show you how difficult this track is, and it can take that motivation right out of you in the fight.
Yeah, it's a really hard track to get right. It's one where you can easily get caught up in other people's accidents as well. I think that's the reason for some of the retirements. Damage around here really does kill you.
Well, Federico Calgero actually came off the gas, allowed Glenn Smith and Flo Scubb to get on by. And that was a big lift down the back straight. Also, not wanting to go and fight out too much with some of the cars ahead of him as he's racing in the gold division. There's been quite a few of those moments where guys are coming off the gas and it's the classes. Do you think the mental mindset for a lot of these drivers is switching over from I've got to be the first in the race to I'm not in your race, I've got my own to handle at this point, not wanting to get too involved with other classes What do you think of the reason for that mental mind shift into round 3 of 7?
I think you're exactly right. The drivers are beginning to get to know each other now. So these guys have shared the track now for 3 races at this point. Some of them even longer than that. So they're getting to know each other. What the class battles are starting to accumulate, and they're looking very much so at who's in what class. And you're not putting up a fight against someone who you're not in direct competition with. So a lot of the time, you'll see these guys will just let you go and will then utilise you down the back straights for that toe. That's happened a couple of times to me tonight. Yeah, it's just smart race. It's just smart racecraft. Why slow yourself and the other car down for what is actually no gain in the end of it? So there's very few reasons to keep another car like that behind you. Only really if you're using them as a barrier, so to speak.
We do see Glenn Smith fighting out Flo Scub as much as possible as they try and stay into the top 20. Flo trying to just keep himself going, and unfortunately will be kicking himself properly after having such a good run at the start of the race. Got so high up, but unfortunately that drive-through penalty has compromised him so much into 21st position. He lost it through the kink. The door closed. Glenn closed the door. Is he able to save it? Took out a few signs on the process, but the car is safe and sound. And Flo trying to turn it around after that. That was a big moment. So let's quickly go on board and let's go to the helmet cam, because that will give us a perfect idea of how close he got. Looked for the kink and watched the door close. As the rear kicked up, dodged the wall, 100 meter board gone, 50 meter board gone, turned it into the dirt, counter steering. And from race overalls being in white to race overalls being technicolored at this point.
I'm just wondering what's going on with I'm looking in the rearview mirror of that Honda, and there's another car buried in it. So I'm just wondering if there's a desync issue with Flo Scub's car there that's caused that. Maybe another car was there another car that may be involved? Not that I can see. The problem that's going to draw out now is those braking markers for the last corner are gone. So
absolute toast in that point.
That's going to cause some problems, I think, for some of the drivers that have been so used to that 150 brake marker coming down into the chase. You might see a couple of drivers go deep there. Well,
it's one of the signs I've been worried about. I do see that only one of the signboards is knocked down. That is the 150. So the 100 and the 50 are still sitting there on the track. So that's going to at least be a little helpful for some of the drivers. Martin Spritzer going a little bit deep into the corner as you expected. Nico Lawrence and Jed Nelson doing exactly the same thing. So there is that worry of planning, because there isn't very much anything to look at and say, that's my brake marker. Like you compared to having the lines on the circuit to keep an eye on those. On that back straight, there is nothing, not even a tree to look at to go and keep it going. Ben Hicks into the dirt though. He is pushing to catch up to Fengler, who is trying to get very defensive, center of the circuit the whole way through. And Ben Hicks going into the dirt multiple times, trying everything he can, grasping at straws at this point. But Christian having that answer every step of the way. The frustration that must be kicking in the last 4 minutes and 46 seconds for Ben at this point is driving him around the twist, considering he's third in the standings for the Platinum. Fengler in second, and this is critical points for both drivers.
Yeah, Fengler just needs to make that the world's widest Lamborghini. The key thing for Fengler is making sure he gets a really good run out of Forest Elbow. If he does that, he should be okay. If for any reason the rear end starts to slip, he taps the wall on my screen.
Yeah, and
if
Ben
for any
Hicks
reason
also
the
at the
back
top
end
of the
doesn't
wall.
behave. Oh, yep, so he has. Oh dear. Right, so.
Welcome to Commentator's Curse. When you talk about they're going to do well, both cars collected the wall. Ben Hicks 0.2 of a second on Christian Fengler at the moment, trying to push as hard as he can. And remember, Ben Hicks is leading the Platinum Championship at the moment. Fengler is going to put a big dent in it. As we also have Nico Lawrence losing out to Jens Nelson at this point. Jens actually going and saying thank you. That's not often you get to see the drivers give a quick thank you. Christian Fingler closing up to Finn van Hollen. Try and look for the inside through the kink. We've seen this go wrong once before. Late on the brakes, Ben Hicks is going to join. Christian up on the inside by side with Van Hollen. Hicks into the dirt. Hicks has outbraked himself. He's turned round. It has all gone wrong for Ben Hicks in the BMW. Unfortunately, we talked about the brake markers, and that is what happens when you get tunnel vision and your markers are gone.
Yeah, he'd have been too busy watching the battle ahead to see if he could take advantage of it there, and you know, the brake marker being missing hasn't helped his cause, but that's going to do Fengler's heart rate a world of good. He can almost settle down now. He's got a 6 to 8 second gap now, and just probably 2 laps to survive. So yeah, if you're Fengler, you dial it back down again, 90% pace, and just get to the checkered flag now.
And now I want to talk about something absolutely amazing, because we've seen this a few times. Gold fighting out against our diamond. Sebastian all over the back of David Schutten, who's still carrying that front end damage, so he's still got a problem there down the Conrad Straight. He is doing a phenomenal job of fighting it out, but Sebastian Luxon has done an amazing job to get himself into that 7th position. Lewis Knight in 10th. We've got 2 golds within the top 10, no platinums in the top 10, all diamonds. Now that must be a boost to the confidence.
Well, Lukeson is at the very least platinum pace. He's only classified gold because I think he sandbagged his license stint. He's one of the drivers that I think are in contention of getting moved up here, because the pace he's shown in the opening few rounds has been absolutely phenomenal. And Lewis is kind of the king of Mount Panorama, so he's dragging a Datsun around at a pace that no gold should be able to do so. So yeah, credit to both of them. They're there on merit.
Oh, absolutely, and you can't take away from David at the moment, who is just keeping the pressure on. Couldn't quite win it in a straight line, but is going to try and fight it up the hill. He's got Michael Castro for company behind him. And Michael's going to really keep the pressure on him all the way through. 1 minute and 8 seconds left of this race. And drivers all starting to settle down ever so slightly in some parts of the circuit. Others, not so much. Christian Fingler is managing to open up the gap to Finn van Hollen, who gets a little bit of a sideways moment on the exit. Nicholas Porras has got Andre Sorodio, and Glenn Smith is right into the toe. Now, Glenn is also one of the cars that collected the wall. Andre Sorodio also having that same issue, and it becomes this one big concertina effect. So a couple of cars still going and having a proper banger of a fight out on circuit at current. Mahath Musa a little bit slow on his exit. Unfortunately, championship not quite going his way through it all. And we have just heard confirmation from Jim. Leader is on his final lap. So Peterson, exiting turn 1 now, is on his final lap with 11 seconds up the road. Behind him is Ernest Lumbriggs. Nicholas Porras defending like there is no tomorrow against fellow Italian stallion Andre Sorodio, who's keeping the pressure on that Lamborghini to ensure he can get in for the fight. And they would have also got the radio message that the leader is on the final lap, so there'll be 1 lap left for these drivers to just keep it going. Sorodio lost it coming down the mountain and into the wall. And that is it. Glenn Smith is going to try and capitalize. Goes around the outside. He's lost it. Glenn Smith into the wall. He's stuck in the middle. Frederico going out of the way to try and keep it all together. Freddie Morelli. But it's all gone wrong for Glenn Smith. He's reversing it down the hill. Oh, beautiful turnaround. And unfortunately, middle of the circuit, Flo Scum and Simon Kursad going and getting a major fright as these two bailed on each other on the way through. I mean, this is just racing at a half. Michael Castro, a little bit of a bump draft ahead with David Schutten, and Stephen Milano James in the wall, exiting the first corner and is down into 13th. He's been overtaken by Nico Lawrence and Jens Nelson. It is all unfolding. It's all going wrong in the final lap of the race. Freddie Morelli and Calgero will be going across the line. They are pushing as hard as they can, but coming up to the line, absolutely stellar effort. Despite 15 seconds success penalty put on him, Christoph Peterson will be taking yet another one under his belt, and that little Acura has really made headway. Second place, who will be banking in some good points, the 480, the BRT of Ernest Lundbriggs, coming across the line with Darius 1.3 seconds behind him. Sean Skitter will be next across the line in that fourth position, with Mahath Musa coming down the Conrad Straight in fifth. Sebastian having a run down the Conrad Straight. If he can keep it all together, it'll be fine for him. Musa a bit slow. Oh no, please no. Fourth gear, these revs are dropping. These revs are dropping big time. Third gear, he's not trying to touch the brakes. Musa's going to lose it right at the end. Sebastian goes around the outside. Musa is out of fuel. Musa is out of fuel. One corner to go. 3 positions gone. He's in second gear. Go up the gears. Go up the gears. Don't go down. This is bad.
Use the clutch. Use the clutch.
Well, anything at this point. He's into first on the final corner. No, don't. You need to go into sixth. Carry the momentum. He's not going to make it. Mahath Musa is going to stop right before the line. Is he able to get it? He just crosses the line in 11th position.
Give him a push.
My heavens. It all unfolded right at the end. At the end, it was all over for him. After such a phenomenal run, it was all taken. And we've got a gold into the top 5. Frederico trying to defend the inside line. Freddie Morelli around the outside. It's going to be a chase down for 20th position. And Frederico keeps it on the power. Freddie finishes it in 21st. It is all gone sideways at the end of this. Bathurst going and just really testing the nerves of the drivers, the commentators, everyone at this. My nerves are shot. Absolutely buggered after seeing that.
And that was about as dramatic as the last couple of laps as I think you're ever going to see here at Mount Panorama. I'm going to jump out because you'll have some interviews too.
Oh, well, also right at the end, Flo getting a pass on Simon as well. So no one was safe in it, but absolutely glad to have you, but not quite what we wanted to see you being exiting out of the race. Well, since you're in the commentary box and you helped out so much, Chris, anything you would like to say to all our partners here at ERA, all our drivers, teams, and our amazing petrol heads out there in the virtual grandstands?
Not particularly, just thanks for supporting in every way that you have. Carry on supporting in every way that you can. Join the streams, get involved in the driving. And I'm going to go and kick a Mercedes until my foot falls off.
Fair enough. Are you going to also convert to a Ferrari?
No, I'll never do that.
Okay, fair enough. Absolutely.
See you later,
incredible stuff. Chris Wall going and jumping in after having to retire the Mercedes after bouncing down the walls and just not having an easy time out there. But what a champ to come in and have a chat to us and give us a bit of insight. But wow, oh wow, let's talk about that finish of note. And I want to have a chat to 2 drivers that are coming up here. We're going to have a chat to 6th place, Michael Castro, to give us his take on everything as we wait for him to come and have a chat. Mike, welcome to the commentary box. Fantastic to have you here. I think this is the first time I had a chat to you. What a finish. 1.3 seconds behind Sebastian. It was a chase down to the line. And Mahath Musa coming to a stop right at the end. What was rushing through your head?
Yeah, man. Yeah, it is my first time here. It was an interesting race, starting P2. That kind of came out of nowhere, and then I think I started pushing a bit too soon, and then through the deeper, my tire just went. The rear just snapped, and that was it. Had to pit, get new tires, and spent quite a bit of time in front of Molano James. That was fun. and then following Schute and following Lucasen. That was also super fun. Seeing Musa, actually, I didn't even notice. I thought it was a back marker or something, and then I realized it was him. Uh, Otherwise, I would have maybe pushed him to the finish line. You know, I think he ran out of fuel.
He ran out of fuel. He did cross the line though. We can confirm 11th position. But that banger of a lap, qualifying, incredible stuff. Started the race. It looked like it was a bit of a tough one. Christoph moved across your nose to just try and keep you at bay. You had Ernest on the back of you. What was it like going into that first corner and the second one? Just knowing that you've got all these cars around you, cold tires, cold brakes, and just trying to get your way up the hill.
Yeah, honestly, I know Chris keeps it very clean, so that was fine. I was just trying to see if maybe I can get in front of him and maybe squeeze in. But after that, I was after T1, I was just trying to trying to stay ahead. You know, I saw that P3 and P4 were kind of getting into some trouble, so I was happy about that. But in general, I was trying to keep it clean, man. Just which didn't quite work out, did it?
Well, you still finished the race and you scored 6th place overall. Good points for the championship. And honestly, to have you around is fantastic. Well, anything you would like to say to the teams, drivers, to the amazing petrol heads out there and our partners here at ERA before we let you go to go and enjoy the celebrations that you survived the mountain?
Surviving the mountain, yeah, man. No, it's just if you crash out, just keep racing. You never know what's going to happen, and if somebody's watching out there, keep on watching. ERA is a fantastic community, and maybe some more people join in, make it more fun.
Well, we're looking forward to seeing you back up and going round 4. I am sure we're going to see you fighting out for that podium. And I think that you have raised a few eyebrows here tonight. So well done, Mike, on a fantastic race thereafter. So Mike
Awesome.
Castro, everybody, fantastic run on his part. Going and scoring 6th overall, 2nd in qualifying. One of those out the box, we didn't see it coming, and he properly went and had a great run. Well, let's have a chat to a gold driver who suddenly got very, very busy. Let's have a chat to Sebastian Dixon. Sebastian, well done on a phenomenal drive. Top 5 for gold. Firstly, that is a huge, huge achievement and what we've been seeing a lot lately. How are you feeling getting the win for your class?
I'm absolutely over the moon. I have never had a good result on this track in any major event, so it was really important for me to finally capitalize on a good result finally.
Well, it was an incredible run. You were busy throughout the race. It looked like the mountain just kept giving you a tough time with all the cars out there. You also had to play a little bit of dodgems as well. Surviving the mountain, what was the game plan of trying to just survive the mountain full stop?
Yeah, so it's just number one, definitely always look to the gap where you can survive. Brake if you have to lose 10 seconds. That's always much faster than actually having, a massive crash and maybe losing a minute. So first of all, survive, and then just don't fear the mountain, and pray and hope for the best.
Well, in all intents and purposes, looking at the points, you have an opportunity. I think this would have booted you up into first place because you were 4 points behind, like I said, Nicholas Cora, who had 20 points. You had 16. You were tied with Liam Smith. Liam, unfortunately, had a rough race. He was further down the order, but you managed to jump yourself, and I think this has now put you into first place in the championship. Any plans heading into round 4?
A lot of practice, a lot of consistency. So I'm going for the championship. I'm in a position where I could get it. So head down, keep on working, keep on improving, and hopefully it will bear fruit at the end of the season.
Well, it's going to be tough work nonetheless, but exciting finishes all going around. Go and enjoy the celebrations. Absolutely incredible stuff. And congratulations on one, making a bit of history out there, getting into that top 5, getting that first place, and now jumping first into the championship. But the target is now set. You've raised the eyebrows of a lot of drivers out there. Having a chat to Chris Wall, they're keeping a very close eye on you and possibly going, next place to go is up into our Diamond division with that pace.
Yeah, let's see what happens if this pace keeps on appearing on track. I definitely think I'm gonna get moved up, but I'm trying to win the gold championship while I'm here. So yeah, that's the target right now.
Fair enough. Well done, Sebastian. Go and enjoy the celebrations. Congratulations on your
Thank you very
win
much, Stephen.
and your top 5.
Thank you.
Absolutely incredible stuff. Gotta say, it's beautiful to have a chat to drivers that finally go and get that break. One of the drivers that did get the break and was going and driving the Angry Weasel around, Lewis Knight, 8th place out there, buddy. Close racing. I'm sure you're a bit finished after that one.
Very much so. Very much so.
Take us through the experience of the mountain, because it looked like the car became a handful towards the middle of the race.
Yeah, first laps are always scary at Pano because it's very much you have to funnel in and give in to people and let them have it. Car honestly felt great. I do have to thank Darius because Darius actually helps me set up my Nissan, so I do have to give thanks to him. And then I had a huge spin in the middle of it, which I thought would have been my race ender because it was just onto the crest of Skyline. Managed to get it straightened. Nobody touched me, thankfully. And then from there on out, it was just push, and just try and get whoever I could behind me. I was aiming to get Lucasen, but he's so much faster than I am. He's so quick in a straight line.
Well, don't re-watch the stream if you've got a bad heart. Otherwise, you will be going newt, because it was close to having a car up the rear of your Nissan. That's for certain.
I did rewatch the crash and saw whoever that was very close to my rear as I was sliding.
Well, it was incredible stuff, but honestly, great running there. Now, I've got to ask, did you ever think that you would get that 8th place, seeing Mahiath Wissa was quite up in the field, and suddenly BM going slower and slower and slower? You're now in this chase. You're trying to keep going. Martin Spritzer is a little bit behind. I'm sure there was that bit of a moment of, ooh, that's a nice position.
I didn't even think I'd get out of I thought I was going to end like 10th, maybe 11th with the pace I was on. And then I was so happy to try and race Milano into the first corner, and then he unfortunately span out. He actually did inform me, I believe it was a fuel issue. He'd run out of fuel, or was trying to preserve his fuel, which is why he was a lot slower.
Ran out completely.
Yeah, I know that Musa, when I came across him, I was like, I'm 9th, but Musa has suddenly dropped 4 positions back. I didn't see a yellow. He must be out of fuel. So as soon as I saw him in that last corner, I was like, I just need to get a line here. I just need to, get the line out the corner so I don't hit Musa, but I'm able to keep the speed. And Musa was nice enough to be as far over to the left as he could be off the racing line. So I can't fault him. It's just really unfortunate.
It happens to the best of us, that's for certain. Well, you came into the championship in 5th place, 14 points, tying you up with Nico Lawrence, and it looks like you've managed to go and break that streak. I mean, Zolder wasn't the best for you. You got to have a great run at Nürburgring. Now it looks like Bathurst as well. It's going to jump you up a few positions. What's the game plan heading for round 4?
It's Suzu, I believe. I don't remember what conditions are like, but I know it's Suzuka. My plan this time is to avoid getting what I had last time, which was 3 drive-throughs and a stop-go 30. That's the plan, to avoid that. But it's just going to be pushing. I should be decent at Suzuka. I'm really looking forward to it. I've got a little bit more time to practice this week as well. So
You've got
I'm
the
really
Nissan
looking forward
factory
to
right
that
there.
track.
So you've got
Yeah.
no waiting for parts. It's all right there at Suzuka, just down the road. I'm sure that's going to help out.
Yeah. Hopefully.
Lewis,
Hopefully.
before I let you go, anything you'd like to say to our amazing partners here at ERA, our amazing fans, the teams, the drivers, and just the petrol heads being around and re-watching or even watching live here today at Mount Panorama?
Obviously, thank you for travelling all the way out to Australia. It's a bit of a distance for a lot of people, I'm sure. But yeah, as always, thank you to the guys that do ERA. Thank you to all the people who came up. And I hope that you enjoy the next couple of races. We've got some good tracks, and there's a lot of close battles on track now, with people both being fighting for their position in class, and people such as Lucasen fighting for, position with people who are so much faster than him. And he absolutely deserves to be up there. He's got the pace to be. So
incredible stuff. Lewis, go and enjoy the celebrations. You earned it, buddy. You survived the mountain. You scored big here today, and you're going to be driving forward in the championship. Good luck. In round 4 is going to be Suzuka at night, and that track gets very, very dark.
looking forward to it.
Fantastic stuff. And also got Jeff the Shark as one of his pictures that he has on. Got to say, a man of taste with Jeff the Shark, but a man of gets abused a lot come Marvel Rivals. Let's bring in a man that requires no introduction because he's a bit too fast for me, and that is Mr. Peterson. Chris, once again, fantastic run. Not too much TV time yet again because 11.6 seconds ahead of everyone. What a race.
Hey.
How are you feeling after that?
Oh, exhausted, of course. Like, it probably looked easy, but it wasn't. I went 100% in every lap until the last lap, pretty much. I told myself that before the race, I can't go like 85 or 90% here to be safe. I have to go to the very edge to get those 15 seconds back, pretty much. And I think mostly because of a bit of luck in the first lap, because many people had accidents, I actually did it. And yeah, I'm super happy about that.
Well, let's take a look at it. You suddenly found yourself, as we can see currently on screen, a new rival in qualifying. Suddenly getting to see the Los Pantos Hermanos Mercedes lined up to the right-hand side of you. Ernest Lindbergh's behind you, along with Ben Hicks and the likes of David Schutten. What was running through your head suddenly now having someone new on the start with you on the front row that managed to get really close to your qualifying time?
I mean, Mike has been up there for like 3 seasons now. Like he has been on the podium in Diamond in season 11 already, so I definitely know how fast he is, and I was really impressed that he could get that pace out of the Mercedes, because I'm practicing with the car myself, and it's definitely very, very hard, especially on this track, to get that time on the board. And also we all struggled a bit with grip in qualifying. Buffers has this weird thing that the grip levels change from session to session in a really weird way. And we, in the qualifying session, there was like, the track was in fast condition, but it felt more like green. It was a bit odd. So to get that time there, that's really impressive. And I definitely, like, I was at the start, I was for like a few seconds, I was fearing that he would overtake me in turn 1, because I went really slow for some seconds, but then saw that he was a bit more behind, so I could keep that position. And he was keeping up with me the first lap, so I think if Mike can stay out of trouble the next races, I expect him also to fight with us up there again.
Well, it was definitely an incredible run. How does it feel going in? You're leading the championship, but just taking a look at the field, getting faster and faster, closing that gap to you, and suddenly now from getting the absolute runaways as you managed to do in this race, but knowing that everyone is now stepping that game a lot closer and looking to go after that crown you've held on your head for so many seasons. Is there a bit of nerves also kicking in?
Yeah, they are pushing me, of course. Like after Zolder, I said I will be back and I will put in work this season. And I didn't practice this much in the last seasons. I, of course, practice always because I definitely respect the competition here a lot. But this season, it's on another level. I basically practice 3 times as much as before. And I think you can see that on track in the last 2 races. Of course, at the Nürburgring, I had a bit of a car advantage, but here at Buffers, I think I really was at my personal best this race. And yeah, and Ernest only finished 1 place behind me. So with the drop round involved, there's not a lot of points between us. So I expect a hard championship fight.
It's definitely going to be a proper fight of note. Really well done on the incredible drive. It's going to be exciting heading into round 4. Suzuka at night, difficult track, difficult conditions to really make it all work. Anything you would like to say to our amazing partners here at ERA, and also to all the drivers, the teams, and our amazing petrol heads as well, going and viewing in from around the world, getting to see all the spectacular action here at Mount Panorama for the Evolution Racing Academy round 3.
Oh, definitely. I want to, especially like you probably already mentioned them, but I want to especially say congrats to the drivers that crashed out in the first lap or in the first laps and still got really good positions. Like, for example, Mike, or who was the other one who did really well? Like Ben Hicks, Platinum driver, was really high in qualifying. Then I think had an accident or something and still finished on the podium in Platinum. And of course, like, all the drivers that finished on the podium in this race, I know how hard this is, and especially I think Christian Fangler's track tool team did really well, like with a double podium in platinum and also a podium in gold. Yeah, and also other drivers that needed to drive in the back because of heavy accidents, like Scott Reynolds, David Roth, and all those guys. Like, for finishing the race is really well done to all of you.
Absolutely great stuff. Well, it was an incredible drive, and we look forward to seeing so many drivers going and having a bit of fun come round 4. But, Mr. Peterson, thank you so much for joining us in the commentary box once again. You're making it rather frequent. I'm going to give you the spare key next time.
I hope you're not getting bored of me.
No. I'm going to give you the spare key so you can let yourself in. You know where the coffee machine is, and you get to have all the fun. But the challenge is on to hold that crown for yet another season, with the field getting closer. Congratulations once again. Go and enjoy the celebrations. You've absolutely earned it.
Thanks a lot.
And phenomenal drive. Well, folks, we got to have a chat to them all. We got to see them all. We got to see all the highs, the lows, the thrills, the spills. We got to hear the tears. We got to see the blood, sweat, and tears also added into the race. But it was incredible, and it's not over just as yet. We got round 4 coming up next week. You want to be part of it, so keep an eye out. Coming up this Sunday, we're going to have a huge run. Suzuka at night, very technical circuit that is going to push our drivers that little bit more over the edge and see how far they can take it. Have you had enough carrots in your meals? Well, we're about to find out who has, who hasn't, and who's going to get going. But ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you for joining us here at Mount Panorama for the Evolution Racing Academy. Make sure, if you would like to join and have a bit of fun with us, we have got 2 servers. We have got training as well that's given by our professionals that go out on the track, like Mr. Peterson, to give you that advice. It's always handy whether you're up and coming, whether you just got involved in the sim, or you're that veteran looking to go and push yourself a little bit more, getting some of the best in the world. Come and join here at ERA. Down in the description, we have got our link to join in the championships, and just come and hover around in our beautiful Discord. Lots of interesting chats happen. Lots of funny stuff happens, and, well, you get to enjoy the moments just like this. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification icon to keep up to date with all our races and podcasts that are coming straight out to the channel. It's fantastic to have a chat to everyone, and you get to hear a different side to the racers and the stewards and the admin. Well, you get to hear it all promise you it's a good chuckle or two. So we have got it all here at Evolution Racing Academy, and the exciting times are still yet to come. Thank you very much for joining us. My name is Stephen Koenig from THT Productions, and like always, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, everybody.